Hey leaders, in this episode of Leading Collaborative Response, Lorna and I have the opportunity to discuss the key issue process. We know the key issue process is incredibly valuable when it comes to a collaborative team meeting about students, and we spend some time talking about what does it look like and the impact that it has. But if you can master this conversation around the needs of students, it has so many other applications that you can be utilizing within your organization. In this episode, we break down some of those other applications and ways that we've seen people have incredibly solutions-focused and action-oriented conversations using that process. So let's get started.
Are you a leader who is navigating the nuances of leading collaborative response in your school or district? Are you unsure of what collaborative response is? Are you looking to understand the critical role leadership plays when establishing and refining a collaborative response approach?
Collaborative response began as a grassroots approach to focus on the needs of students through a framework of collaboration. That approach has grown to a movement that is training leadership and education.
Through the Leading Collaborative Response podcast, Kurtis and I share our own experiences of leading collaborative response and lessons learned as we continue to learn and gain insight through the experiences of working alongside others. We also have the opportunity to engage in conversations with school and divisional leaders implementing the framework in their own organizations.
We know great leaders build great teams because that is what every child deserves. Subscribe to the Leading Collaborative Response podcast and join the thousands of schools seeing success for students through intentional and focused collaborative efforts. We hope you've had another fantastic week and very honored to have you joining us once again. So last week we talked about our shift in perspective around visual team boards. And part of that was that in the collaborative team meeting, the key issue process really contradicted the use of the team boards because we're using that process to help initiate a focus on the issue, not the student, and that we are trying to use it to be solutions oriented and then focusing in on what are the actions we're going to take. It's a very vital process when we're looking at students, but we've also had the tremendous opportunity to start exploring that process in some other contexts as well. And how could it be utilized in other ways rather than just within the collaborative team meeting?
Yeah, and it is such a powerful process that we've found the use of it in a number of different contexts now.
So we will certainly link a blog that talks about the key issue process, and we're also going to link a section of the website that has some resources for observing a collaborative team meeting and being able to see that key issue process in action. But for those that might not be familiar, can you give us just a quick rundown? What does it look like when I say I have Marcus and my key issue is X? Describe for everyone what that process looks like.
In a collaborative team meeting, the process for working through the key issues is that a teacher identifies a student and identifies a key issue
As quickly as possible and succinctly.
But sometimes it takes the facilitator a couple of questions to get to a good key issue.
Yeah.
A good key issue allows us to attend to the needs of many students. So it's not that we're talking about just one, but really is broad enough that we can explore lots of different ideas, but not too broad that it becomes we don't even know where to start.
Right.
So just refining that key issue.
Right.
And then as we refine it, we ask, are there any other students who are also experiencing the same key issue? And then we set teachers aside, we set students aside, and then we dive into a beautiful brainstorm. Then at the end of after we've exhausted all of our ideas around that brainstorm, then we come back to the teachers and say, for Marcus, what is one thing that you can take away from that brainstormed list
As an
to
action.
try in your classrooms.
Absolutely. And when we see this working to its utmost during that brainstorming, we are seeing all voices get accessed.
Yeah.
But we're also hearing things like what if and I wonder if, and people trying to innovate so that when I share an idea, you're taking that and saying, but what if we changed it a little bit like this? And through that process, we might come up with some innovative approaches that no one person on their own may have come up with.
And this is one of the processes that we share through collaborative response that truly builds a culture of collaboration.
Absolutely. So let's talk about it when we can use the process not focused on students. So we've had the awesome opportunity to work with a number of school divisions now where senior leadership individuals are taking that same process, but instead of using it with students, they use it to help support schools. So picture this process where I can come in and say, from my last round of school visits, I would like to bring forth school A. And for me, the key issue that I helped or that we uncovered through the conversation is the principal having difficulty finding time to get into classrooms for classroom walkthroughs. So we've got a key issue. Principal unable to find time for classroom walkthroughs. Then we're able to say, all right, does anyone else have a school where we're also seeing that
same
particular
issue.
challenge coming forth? And the intent is not that we are complaining or creating an opportunity to vent or cast blame. We then want to be able to turn, all right, for these 4 schools where we're seeing this, what could we do? And we start brainstorming. And we've been now in those rooms where the team starts saying, well, maybe one of us could go in and help look at their timetable. Maybe that person, we could connect them with this other individual who is finding innovative ways to get into classrooms. What if I recently attended a workshop? Maybe we could get that person to come and do a workshop for our admin team because we have several. What if we set up a time where the administrators at those 4 schools could come together with one of us and we could work on brainstorming? And we see that exact same process. Lots of different ways to support, but then we come back and say, all right, for school A, what's one thing that we think we could do to help support? So again, it's not meant to overwhelm.
No.
It's just intended to, what are the different ways that we could help provide support? It's been a really fascinating process.
Oh, yeah.
To see that at the school division level.
Well, and really generating those innovative ideas and possible solutions or possible next steps that we could be pursuing in a particular situation. So I've had the great privilege of being able to work with the director and then the inclusive education facilitators across the schools. And so they come together about 3 times in the year with a couple of online times in between. And we have looked at using the key issues approach with this group in 2 ways, actually.
We'll be right back to continue this episode. Communication is essential when navigating supports for students. How often have you had a student who required intensive supports which were organized and navigated by someone other than yourself? How do you know the decisions being made and the supports being designed for that student? In WeCollab, each time a student is discussed in any meeting, a record of the decisions can be emailed directly to those involved, even if you're not part of that particular meeting. Email updates allow you to stay on top of all the supports provided to your students. Start your free trial now to experience the power of WeCollab. And now back to our conversation.
When we come together as a team, then we use the key issue to be able to identify in your role as an inclusive education facilitator or learning support teacher, in that role, what is a key issue that you are experiencing as you are functioning in that role in that school?
So give us an example of what might have been a key issue that you've seen surfaced in that meeting.
struggling with getting parents to sign IPPs.
Okay. Fairly common.
So we identify that as an issue, and then we open it up to be able to create that brainstorm, find out if there's any other IEFs who are also
right. So trying
challenged.
to attach, so it's not all about everyone telling
person.
me
No.
what to do. And now I'm hesitant to bring forward key issues any further because I'm getting overwhelmed, when we can have 6 other people say, me too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It opens it up.
And then we move into a brainstorm. And then each of the learning support teachers are sharing what they do in their schools to be able to help other schools who are challenged by that. And then we, again, just like the key issues process for collaborative team meetings, we come back to say, okay, for this school, what is one thing that you're going to take away? That one action. So that's one part of what we do with that group in the what's within your role. But then we also do another key issues process for that group about what is an issue that you are facing right now regarding student concerns. So a student-focused key issue, but in that setting, we don't use a student name.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, we just use the name of the school again to be able to say that this is an issue for students that we are experiencing right now. And then we follow that same process. So for their role and for a student concern across the school.
Right. So again, you're just trying to build up everyone's toolbox.
Yeah,
through
absolutely.
that conversation. So we also have seen school divisions that have infused the process into their administrator meetings.
Yeah.
So that when, and I'm thinking of 2 in particular, 2 school divisions, that when principals come together on a regular basis, there's a portion of their agenda on that day where, as a principal, it might be my turn this round that I'm going to be bringing a key issue. And for instance, my key issue may be that we're having difficulties moving forward with a assessment conversation within the school. Okay, I want to transform how we view assessment within the school, and I'm having some difficulty doing that. And same thing, others jump in to say, we're also experiencing that. We're at that place. And then they open up and brainstorm. And again, people are sharing, I'll add onto the document a resource I've utilized at my school. Here's a website I found valuable. I found this amazing video that helped. And again, they're just trying to build up that expertise. But in that situation, they keep track of that in their notes so that if that key issue ever becomes something that I struggle with at a later date, a later time, I could go back and reference what's been there. And it becomes an excellent way where we could be creating that bank of strategies in relation to leadership key issues that are being experienced, the same way we see schools starting to create banks of strategies related to student key issues. Again, it's a powerful process because we're raising it, but raising a challenge, but really trying to create that solutions-oriented approach.
Yeah, and the ability to be able to share practice without feeling like, either you're making a judgment on somebody else or, there's cautions to share something that I've done because maybe it's not that great. But when we embed it in this process, then it just becomes anything that you have done around that particular key issue.
Or maybe something that comes to mind.
That we can just throw it out and it becomes this bank. And as you mentioned, it becomes a jumping off place too, because we often hear people say, oh, and we should, and what if we, and it just begins to expand and grow from there.
Yeah, well, and the interesting thing of this is we've worked with different organizations around this, but we've also had points in our own Jigsaw Learning organization where we went, oh my goodness, why are we not utilizing this as well? So you can recall a time where we had our team together and we used the exact same process to say, when working with partners, here's a key issue that I've experienced. And then our team members were able to say, you could add this partner. We would name who we're working with. And again, this is not based on judgment or evaluation. Here's a challenge I'm having. Then
when we did that, we noted, I think there was something like 18 different ideas that were generated from that group of people within 6 minutes.
Yeah, it's
And
quick.
and then multiple actions that we're taking away. But even for us as leaders of the organization, it surfaced ideas where someone had said, I've created this document that I've been utilizing with the school divisions. We went, oh, that's genius. Why didn't we have that shared before? We just hadn't had that opportunity. So
Yeah.
again, really powerful process.
You know, another way that we've seen this key issues process work is when teachers, a group of teachers, are developing an IPP for students and identifying the key issue that that student is facing. And then, okay, as a team, let's just explore all of the ideas that we could possibly put in place for that student. And then coming back to say, okay, what are the strategies that we think are going to be most appropriate at this time for that student? So
Right.
even use it in developing an IPP.
Absolutely. Well, we hope we've shared some different ideas or strategies. We'd love to hear some experiences that you may have of extending this key issue process beyond just the student conversation. Love to hear what
Sure.
that sounds like for
Yeah.
you. Until next time, we wish you all the best. Take care.
See you soon.